I've asked that our police chief take a few minutes this morning to just brief us in light of some of the recent violence in the city, brief us on things the police department is doing. He was here. Oh, there he is. I did no uniform. A tie. Good. So Chief, if you'd please just take a few minutes and bring us up to date on any particular measures that you're taking, comments that you might have on the violence in the city.
Certainly. As you alluded to, Mayor, we've had a recent troubling uptick in violence. The bright side of that is twofold. One is we've made some nice arrests on cases. Perpetrators were quickly brought to justice. We're working with Bill Forsyth to make sure that those crimes don't go unpunished. And secondly, we've taken the initiative to expand our community policing footprint in light of some of these occurrences. So I want to share with you a couple of the things that we've recently done. It's beneficial for us that this time of year, it's like a lot easier to get the officers out of the cars and into the neighborhoods on foot. We've just taken delivery of a couple Segways that we're going to use to help us get out on foot in parks, Martin Luther King Park being one of them, but we really want to start engaging more out of the vehicle as opposed to just patrolling the neighborhoods. Another thing that we've recently done is bike patrols. We've rejuvenated our bike patrols with the purchase of some new bikes and trained some additional officers, our new hires, on bike patrols. So you'll be seeing increased bike patrols throughout the neighborhoods. We've looked at our crime analysis and we've deployed the special response team in the areas where we've had these occurrences. So we're doing more with less in terms of looking at where the trends are, looking at where they've been historically, but most importantly, looking at where they've been most recently and deploying people accordingly. In terms of some of the outreach programs, because we recognize that this is really going to take a community initiative to resolve. This is not just a police issue, but it's a community issue. So some of the things we're doing to engage the community, one that we're very proud of is this is the inaugural year of our on-base program. We took 70 city youth and worked with them over the course of the summer to teach them how to play baseball. It culminated last week with a trip to Tiger Stadium with officers taking them to, for many of them it was their first game, but it gave us an opportunity to work hand in hand and start to generate a relationship outside of the norm that police officers generally do with community members. In addition, last Thursday, command staff went out to Camp O'Malley and we helped do the groundbreaking for a new portion of the camp. This summer, 600 campers went through Camp O'Malley, and that camp was staffed with members of the GRPD on a consistent basis. So another opportunity to work with them. Our Explorer program, as you know, is up and running. It's fully funded and fully functional. This is our fourth month now, the program. We'll be taking it nationally in terms of competition because that's one of the attractions of that program. So we're excited about the progress of that program. Our community Citizens Police Academy, we've done that several times a year for several years, but this is the first year we've done it in Spanish. We're now in the third week of our Citizens Police Academy in Spanish. So we're offering it to our residents who prefer to speak Spanish or who struggle with English, and we're in our third week of that. We've also added a third full-time officer to the Boys and Girls Club. Previously, we had 2 officers for 3 locations. As part of our commitment to community engagement, there's now a third officer, so each location has a full-time presence. One of the things that we're very proud of is our CLEAR initiative. We're one of the first in the nation where police officers work hand in hand with prison releasees to reduce the incidence of recidivism. And we've had other agencies from across the state come and look at that program, and we're very proud of that. That's touched the lives of 125 men who've been released from prison back into our community, who we've helped strengthen the social support network to keep them out of that re-offending cycle. Another thing that we're very proud of is our Coffee with the Captain and Coffee with the Officer. We do that once a month in every neighborhood that we can. So several times a month, we're probably looking at about 8 to 10 throughout the city. It's either Coffee with the Captain or Coffee with the Officer. We're expanding that. November 2nd, we'll have our first Coffee with the Clergy. We're going to hold that at the police station. We're going to open that up to clergy members throughout the city of all denominations in an effort to engage them in part of this discussion in terms of taking our community response to the next level. So that's just a very brief synopsis of some of the things that we're engaged in. Is there any questions I can answer for you?
Well, thank you, Chief. I talk about the important distinction between law enforcement and crime prevention, and that, you know, that the primary function of a police department is law enforcement, but it's also clear that your work spills over in significant ways into crime prevention in our neighborhoods. But that's where you need to work closely with community organizations and block by block with neighbors. So I congratulate you on that.
And one thing about this community, and I'm telling you what you already know, very fortunate for us is this is an engaged community. It's a very engaged populace. National Night Out was a great example. We don't have to go seeking people to come forward to work with us. They're ready partners, which really makes our partnership that much stronger.
Yeah, yeah. And you've reported that that in the case of the shootings that occurred over the course of a week, that those were likely people who knew each other, and there's some interconnection between those, so that it's not random acts of crime that are being committed against random citizens in our community.
That's accurate, and that in no way diminishes, the significance or the tragedy of what occurred. Having said that, you're absolutely correct. These were not random incidents of violence. These were incidents where the victim and the suspect had a relation. They were known to each other, and that's allowed us to resolve most of these cases through arrest. In addition to that case at Rosa Parks that garnered a significant amount of public attention, we've arrested 5 individuals for that. 2 have been charged as adults. The remaining 3 have yet to be charged, or the decision has yet to be made whether they'll be charged as adults or juveniles.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Lumpkins?
I'd like to compliment you, the leadership that you're providing in the, excuse me, in the department. And I think one thing that we should be careful of is that all of the things are not youth-centered. There are some things that are happening, as you said, some of the connections, some of the things that are happening with older adults. But we can't put a police officer on every corner, so it's important that the citizens have a chance to participate and provide information. I think the piece about the explorers, where we're reaching the youth early so that they consider law enforcement as a job possibility. We need to have that visibility within the community. And I like the approach for the clergy, Coffee with the Clergy. And I hope that you use some of the media of color to get the information out to those churches and houses of faith so that they can participate.
It's a great point, Commissioner, particularly about our efforts are not just centered on the youth. We currently have a senior volunteer program that's very strong, and we'll be rebranding that program in the fall to include not just senior volunteers, but volunteers of all ages. So that's an exciting initiative, another opportunity for engagement.
Thank you.
Anything else? One question on Commissioner Kelly, you had a question or comment?
I just want to thank you too, Chief, for following up on many of the recommendations that we talked about in the SAFE task force that Commissioner Lanier led, in terms of really reaching out, as you have, to our community's youth. That is so important. And as this nation has these conversations, we want to offer our support to the department. There's been a lot of talk about police as guardians of the community versus enforcers, and I see you moving in the direction of guardians of the public safety and developing those relationships, like Commissioner Lumpkin said, at a very young age, which we know is so critical. So thank you for putting the emphasis there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And with respect to the SAFE report that you mentioned, Commissioner Lanier will be providing a report in the upcoming months. So keep us up to date on the significant number of recommendations coming out of that report. Then a final question. You mentioned the CLEAR initiative, and is that something that we're able to track data on and show its effectiveness? I know that recidivism rates can be quite high absent some interventions, and this seems like a significant intervention. Are we tracking it?
It is, and I don't want to misquote the statistics, but what I can say with confidence is when we looked at it, it enjoys a much greater or much reduced incidence of recidivism. And I can get you those numbers, and I will do so. We're also looking at taking that same program and expanding it to females who have been released from prison. Currently, it's only offered for males. I'm not aware of any other agency in the country that has a similar program for female recent prison releasees. Having said that, we're exploring that option now.
You might also consider a Spanish language component to that as well.
That's a great suggestion,
All right.
sir. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much for your report this morning. I appreciate it.